Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is our first lecture of the course Cleaner Production Technology. This course is having 3 credit hours, and mainly it is a theoretical course, and we will try to understand what kind of cleaner production technologies can be adopted in our industries, in our organizations, and how this can help in obtaining a sustainable development. So basically it is a new concept, and it is a new innovative ideas which are going to be implemented in our industries. So first of all, we will introduce this course, and we are having the course contents. So this is the objective: to impart know-how for resource optimization, pollution control, corporate competitiveness. And then this is our main course contents. These course contents are here distributed in a weekly basis. Here you can see them, and if you see, the main focus is on sustainable development, and then we have principles and phases, how it is going to be implemented, and eco-efficiencies, ISO 14001, environmental management system, risk management, environmental audits, closed loop operations, material flow analysis, life cycle assessment, and waste minimization. So all these are the basic topics which of this course which we will be discussing. These are the assignments which you are going to submit in our course throughout the course. So these are the 4 assignments. So please, uh, while studying this course, you will come to know more detail about these topics, and then you can search on your own, and then you can make a good uh, assignment by yourself. We need a class project, and there will be about 3 students in one group, and it will be about the implementation of the cleaner production techniques. So we want that whatsoever you are going to study in this course, it must have some practical application. You must know how this course is going to work. You must know what is the procedures, how we are going to implement this course in our existing system, because uh, when you go into the field, there is a totally different scenario other than the theoretical work. So we want to coordinate, we want to have a coherence between both. We want you to have a knowledge which is useful, which can be implemented in our industry, in our field, in our organizations, anywhere. So this project is basically to make this course more useful and more applicable in view of field application. So please make group of 3 students. Each group will be assigned one topic, and it is much better if you decide by yourself which industry or organization you want to work on, which can include chemical industries, textile industries, tannery industries, food industries, and pharmaceuticals, and sugar industry. So any topic you want to work, you can take agriculture industry, and even you can work on the organizations as well. So it is open, and you can have your own topic, but these organizations or industries must be in existing form. You must have a place to go to find out the existing situation, and then plan for them a better, cleaner production approach, how you will going to improve their working environment, how you are going to improve their operational systems, how you are going to improve their processing, how you are going to improve their products, how you are going to improve their designing, how you are going to make them a more beneficiary in terms of economics. So these are all the objectives of this course. So please, first of all, we will have a understanding what are the procedures, what are the tools of cleaner production technology, and then I will request you to go to the industry and then find out their problems, where there is lacking of the system, and then after pointing out those uh, loopholes, those issues, those problems, you are expected to suggest a good solution to those problems. So this is the main theme of giving you this kind of assignment. I hope it will be very beneficial for you, not only in this course but in your practical life as well. So when you will be in working in field as an environmental engineer, you will have a clear concept what cleaner technology actually means, cleaner production technology actually means, and then you can be more beneficial for your workplace and for your industry. So I hope it will be really very beneficial. So there are some course learning outcomes because we are following outcome based education, OBE system. So we are having this kind of protocols which are having this CLOs which are linked with the program learning outcome, that is PLOs, and we also have to define the cognitive levels and taxonomy levels. So uh, so these are our learning outcomes. So by the end of this course, it is expected that you will have a clear understanding about the cleaner production techniques as the advanced tool for environmental improvement. And secondly, you will be able to demonstrate and categorize cleaner production plans and strategies for implementation. So these are the outcomes, so which are linked with our program learning outcomes, which are actually our environmental engineering objectives. So this is something about the weightage and distribution. I think you can go through them by yourself. So the percentage of first CLO and the second is about CLO1 is 33% and the rest is CLO2, and I think you can understand it very well. We will not waste time here. And now I will request you to prepare one synopsis in this course, in this semester, and that synopsis can be on any environmental engineering topic. It is not specific to this course, but it can relate to any of the environmental engineering issues and problems on which you are going to work, which you have an interest in. So it will help in you to get admission into your next goal, and obviously you will be searching for some international university and international master level program, and in that case this proposal and synopsis will help you a lot, because this is the time when you should have a synopsis ready by now. And then once you make it sure, once you make get prepared for this course, for this synopsis, it will help you in getting admission in a high graded university, international university. So I am available to you anytime, and you can discuss with me any kind of topic, and I will brief you what are the basic components of a synopsis, what will make it more attractive and useful, and how you can properly plan your research work. So all these things will be discussed in this assignment. So this is not a graded assignment, but it is for your own benefit. So it's all up to you. Let's see how much interested you are in your studies, and especially in your future plans. What are your goals about your international graduations, and how you are planning your future careers. So I will request to discuss with me your topics, and I will brief you about the topics, and I will suggest you what further you can do in your area of interest research topics. So everything you want to discuss, you must feel free and contact me, and we will make a very impressive synopsis which will take you to admission in the international universities. Now we move to our course, that is cleaner production technology. First of all, let's start with the basics of this concept. What actually this concept means? Cleaner production technology. So please review what cleaner production technology can actually mean. So and how it varies with the other concepts which are existing in our uh, environmental engineering. So what kind of systems you have studied so far? These are about the designing, these are about the planning, these are about the implementations. So these are the jobs of an engineer: to design, to plan, and to implement. And implement, from implementation we mean the execution. We want the results. We are not only talking theoretical, we are talking about practical. So you must have a clear concept about the design. You must have a clear concept about the planning of its working, and then you must have the knowledge how you will be implementing it. So this is all about your engineering. And if you look back on your courses which you have studied so far, environmental engineering like wastewater engineering, water supply engineering, and water pollution control, and so many courses. So all these are linked with your theoretical knowledge as well as your practical knowledge. So we are concerned with the theme, with the basic concepts, and then designing. So now in this cleaner production, you will see it is a totally different thing. It is not a conventional approach. It is a new advanced approach. But what actually it means? So how we are going to deal with our pollution, how we are going to deal with our environment. This is the theme of it. So if you see, we have so many sources of pollution, like air pollution, like wastewater pollution, like soil pollution, like groundwater pollution. So all these sources are dispersed in different media. How many media we have? We have four main spheres which are having different sources of contamination. What are those four spheres in which our whole universe is packed? It is atmosphere, it is hydrosphere, it is biosphere, it is lithosphere. So all these are actually comprising our environment. And while talking about pollution once in a system has to exist. It cannot be removed permanently, because a contaminant must is not easy to eliminate that contaminant uh, permanently. So what is we are going to do in this? we have to understand the mechanism how the pollution is being produced. How the pollution is being produced? It is we need to define pollution. So what is pollution? Anything which is being added into the system or taken from the system, and it is having an adverse effect on the system, it is called pollution. So anything which is disturbing our system, anything which is unbalancing our natural system is called pollution. So whenever we release the gases from our industry into the system, into the air, we are actually adding up the contamination to the system. We are adding up extra CO2, we are adding up extra methane, we are adding up extra nitrates, extra nitrogen oxides, we are adding up extra sulfur oxides. So we are adding up every pollutant into the air. This is one example. So if you understand, this kind of contamination is actually being added up into the system, and at the same time, when it is added up, there must be something being removed as well, eliminated. So for example, ozone is being displaced, so it is being removed from the stratosphere. So you must understand that actually the unbalance is because of some anthropogenic activity, and that anthropogenic activity can have different kinds of effects. Now those all the procedures which we are supposed to do in our industry are processed in such a manner that they are actually uh, creating an extra pollution load into our system of air, into our system of our soil, into our system of groundwater. So the industry is continuously disposing of its waste in the form of gases emissions, in the form of wastewater, in the form of solid waste. So everything being added up into the system, and it is leaving a negative impact. So this is called pollution, and this is a practice which is continuous from since the life came into existence in this earth. Now what happened in this century and in the previous century, that industrialization revolutionized it, almost uh, speeded up our life, and we have a completely revolutionized life system. So this uh, revolution, and industrial revolution in particular, has uh, affected our ecosystem, it has affected our environment, and it is leaving a very negative impact on our natural processes. So we must consider how we can restore our environment, how we can go back to the situation which was existing a few centuries back, when there was no environmental pollution. But now gradually this is continuously increasing, and increasing in an exponential manner. It is not a smooth, but it is exponentially increasing. The growth is so many times, so many folds exaggerated and enhanced. So this is the example. If you consider CO2, so pre-industrial level was 280, and then now it has raised up to 400, and if it crosses 450, it will have uh, extremely adverse effects, and it is not easy to reduce the level of CO2 once it has been produced in such a huge amount. So we are supposed to return to our natural systems. We are supposed to go back to the system. We have to undo all the negative impacts and we must restore our natural environment. This is the focus, and this is actually the theme of this course as well. So pollution, one of the largest challenges, and this is the history of pollution. So if you see, it is a very comprehensive presentation. So first of all, before the industrialization or this speedy growth of industries, uh, there was no pollution and the man was at peace with the environment. And then things started changing, industrialization started, the industries started to dispose their waste into the environment. What our environment constitutes: air, soil, water. So into these three main media the waste was disposed. Gases were emitted into the air, solid waste was dumped on the land, and the effluent was disposed into the drains, and those drains were carried to the rivers were carried to the sea. So finally, if you see that we almost disposed everything, but the contamination existed in the environment. So we just uh, cleared the spot, but we shifted the contamination from one place to the other. So, but now there was a limit. We have already crossed that limit. Now the contamination is so obvious and it needs to be uh, handled with some advanced technology. So let's focus on this concept, please. So first of all, we disposed, and then the problem was ignored, and we try to solve the problem by the natural processes. Like if you see that when from the industrial chimneys and these stocks, when the gases are emitted, initially the concentration of smoke is dense, but gradually, as it travels in a particular direction along with the wind, the density and the thickness and the cluster of the cloud of the smoke starts reducing. This is due to the dispersion. So this dispersion phenomena worked everywhere and every time, and whenever we released the smoke into the air, it dispersed, and we thought that the contamination eliminated, but actually the contamination dispersed. It is still there. At the same we did with our effluent. We disposed the effluent, contaminated effluent, into the drain, and after traveling some distance, the dark color of the effluent turned gray, and then it gradually diminished, and we considered that the pollution has been eliminated, but actually it has not eliminated. It persists in the system, it persists in the air as well as in the soil as well as in the water, but the concentration is continuously adding up. We are continuously doing the same practice every time, and every time the contamination is being added up. Then gradually we started suffering from these side effects. We started accumulating this contamination in our groundwaters, and then because groundwater is one of the major sources of drinking water and for other domestic purposes, so we got its consequences. We started uh, digesting, we started taking huge amounts of heavy metals and other chemicals in our bodies along with the drinking water. So now we started to plan something to treat the water and then dispose into the drain and release the gases after reducing the level of contamination. So this was the approach which was adopted in 1970s, and then rules and regulations were developed and implemented to control the flow of the contamination. And then still it was observed that this is not going to work out, and then the concept of cleaner production was launched, and actually this concept lead to the sustainable development. In the coming slides we will define what is cleaner production, how it links with the sustainability. So this is the sustainable development, economic development that is conducted without depletion of natural resources. It is kind of a continuity in the development without compromising on our resources. We are not going to exploit our naturally existing resources, which are our fuels and which are our air, which is our water. So everything which we have been uh, depleting, which we have been exploiting, must be retained. So this is a better explanation of cleaner production. Initially, we produced pollution and we tried to control it by some mechanism which may be called as treatment. And for example, we try to treat the wastewater coming from an industry. We try to uh, remove the contaminants from the effluent, and then we dispose the treated effluent into the drains. Treated effluent, and the contamination has been separated by the mechanism of treatment. We have the so many advanced technologies for separation of the heavy metals from the water, and we get a cleaner effluent. So this is something which we are doing. Then now we have a recent concept, and that is called pollution prevention. Pollution prevention actually means to adopt those technologies that our end product of the effluent or wastewater is so much reduced. We are actually focusing on reducing the amount of wastewater produced. Please try to understand. Initially, we allowed the water to uh, we, uh, we treated the effluent coming from the industry in its original form, and then after treatment we disposed. But what was the negative thing, that huge amount of contaminant was there. But then we adopted the pollution prevention approach, and in this we try to adopt those technologies by the help of which our end product of the treatment is much more less polluted. Then another uh, advancement, and that is we adopted the cleaner production approach. So what is this cleaner production approach? It is to have a sustainable development. It is directly linked with the concept of sustainability. And what actually it means, that we must modify each and every step of the industrial processes so that we have least probability of contamination being released from any step. you will have a much better understanding in the coming slides. So finally, people realized pollution and resource depletion is due to waste. And what is the waste? It is a valuable resource at wrong place, in the wrong form, and in the wrong media. Waste opportunity to cut and increase the profit. So this is important. Please, once again, you must focus on it. So it is a kind of summary whatever we have talked so far. So if you check this figure, this demonstration, in the section 1, it is passive, in which we are ignoring pollution, because the pollution was not in so much amount to be worried about. So this was the passive approach. Then we had a reactive approach, which was in the second figure, second section, dilution and dispersion. So we disposed it in the drain and it get diluted. We emitted the gases in air and it got diffused, it got dispersed. And thirdly, we have a constructive end of pipe treatment. In the third section, third figure, please check. And in this, you will see that there is a treatment process. And then finally, it's about the disposal. And in the fourth section, you can see we have a cleaner production, which includes so many processes to be modified. There are different sections in an industry, and every section must be looked after. Every process must be revised and modified in such a manner that it produces least amount of contamination, least amount of pollutant. This is the concept of cleaner production, and this is the definition. Cleaner production is the continuous application of an integrated, preventive, environmental strategy towards processes, products, and services in order to increase overall efficiency and reduce damage and risk for humans and the environment. So this definition has been demonstrated graphically in the lower section. So continuous, preventive, and integrated approach heading towards environmental strategy, and this environmental strategy is to be implemented on the processes, products, and services. What we should get a reduction in the risk to the humans and environment. So a very comprehensive, if you read it once or twice, you will get a complete concept of this cleaner production. So it's a tool to answer about the CP assessment, CP options, lesser weight, improved productivity. You can go through it. So what is the key elements? CP adds value to the EMS, environmental management system. It places emphasis on pollution prevention rather than control, with clear improvement in environmental performance. So my question is, can you differentiate between pollution prevention and pollution control? Please focus on this question. Please differentiate between pollution prevention and pollution control. So the answer is, pollution control is possible when we have generated pollution. When we have pollution, we will try to control it. Now, what is pollution prevention? It is to remediate pollution. We are trying to prevent pollution. We are trying to prevent the existence of pollution. We don't want the pollution to be created. We don't want pollution to be generated. So this is the concept. we need to reduce the production of pollution. This is pollution prevention. While pollution control can only be conducted once the pollution has been produced. So CP does not deny or impede growth, but insists that growth can ecologically be sustainable. So we need a sustainable solution. In the coming slides, we will focus on this sustainability concept, and then safety. It includes safety and protection of health, and CP emphasizes risk reduction, and CP improves immediate efficiency as well as long-term efficacy. So it's a win-win factor: environment, communities, and business. So this is the production, services, and processes. So if you have an understanding about this demonstration, you can see that it's a typical processing of the industry, in which the raw material is entering, water is entering, energy is being used, all these things are entering. So we consider them as inputs to the system, and then we will be having a processing and within the system, and then on the extreme right we are getting the services, goods, and then waste is being produced, wastewater, and then solid waste is being produced. So it is a typical presentation of an industry or any kind of industrial process. So if you see here, these are the different sections, starting from the input material on the left. Then we have production processes with the help of technology being added up, with the help of operational systems being used, and then in the end we will be getting products, and then we are also getting the waste and emissions. So this is a very comprehensive demonstration of an industrial system, a mechanism, how the things are working in an industry. And some of the obligations to these industries, which include this Kyoto protocols, greenhouse gas emissions, Basel Convention about the waste minimization, Stockholm Convention about avoiding unintentionally produced persistent organic pollutants, PCBs and dioxins and furans. I'm sure you are well aware of all these topics and these concepts. So what are persistent organic pollutants, what are PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, and what are dioxins, what are furans? Furans are methyl bromide and the fire extinguisher materials, and PCBs are the polychlorinated biphenyls, and what are the dioxins? These are the materials produced from the incomplete burning of the highly dense plastic material. Normally from our incinerators we are getting this kind of emission, which is dioxin. So I think it is quite clear to you by now. So let's see in our first process. It is about the input material. If we talk about cleaner production, we need to work out every step, and that every step must be modified and improved in such a way that we get our objective of pollution prevention. And second objective is sustainability. We want to rely on the uh, resources generated within itself. We don't want to exploit and use the external sources, but we want to use the sources produced within the system, and it will reduce the cost of the system. It will reduce the pollution load. It will reduce the treatment cost. All these are the benefits. So back to the first modification which we can do. It is in the input material. So when we talk about input material, we can change it in different manners. So how we can change it, it's expressed here. So these topics will be discussed later in our coming lectures as well in detail. So now we are only talking about the concept. So please uh, just try to grasp the idea what we are going to do. So input materials can be changed. Why we need to change the input material? Firstly, the objective is to replace the toxic material with less toxic. Use of renewable materials. Use of materials with longer lifetime. Material purification. So all these are the objectives and targets as well, which we can achieve from the input materials if we modify them. Similarly, in our technology, we can do some modifications, and how we can do it? We can improve the equipment and process control by having a new technology and replacing the technology, replacing the equipment need can be modified, optimal process conditions can be improved, automation can be applied. What is automation? Automation is to make the machines work on their own based on their requirement. So improved process control, improved equipment layout, all these are the possibilities to deal with the technology. Then we have production processes, and operations. How we can modify the operations? Improved management, workers skill and process control, and production scheduling, energy management, and so all these are the options for the operation. Then we have the possibility of product modification, and it can be done by recycling, friendly design, product life extension, and more efficient, less material intensive packaging, reduction of harmful substances, implementing CP by the uh, reducing the waste. So how we can do it? On-site recovery and reuse of raw material in the process. So let me give you one example how we can uh, make a sustainable uh, process by dealing with the waste, solid waste as well as effluent. So for example we consider a for example we consider a tannery industry. You must be well aware that chromium is the main contaminant released from that industry. Now that chromium is actually used as a salt. That salt is actually linked with the sulfate ions. So we have chromium sulfate as a major salt which is used for the finishing of the leather, and that is actually falling in this input material, and once it is being added up into the system and being used in the production process, it will be released on the end product as it is. So it is not being consumed within the system, and it is being disposed of. So that is creating the major problem of pollution in our wastewater and soil and in our groundwaters. So in order to deal with it, one possible option can be that we change that chromium with some other less toxic material. Second option is that in the end, where waste is produced, we recover that chromium chromium salt, and we again use it as an input material. So we are closing the loop, we are recycling that chromium which was being released. So what will happen, we will reduce the overall utilization or consumption of the chromium. How? Because we are not using any new chromium, but we are only recycling the previous chromium available within the industry. So the chromium consumption overall will be reduced, number one. Secondly, that chromium will not no more be released into the environmental systems. It will not be joining the soil, it will not be joining the groundwaters. So what will happen, it will actually reduce the load of chromium in our systems. So this is the benefit, another benefit. So this is called sustainability. We are not exploiting the natural resources, but we are producing the sources within the system.